Welcome to another video on the MOPC Brazilian Portuguese the Hard Way series. You're going to learn Brazilian Portuguese, at least the general elements of the language, the basics, and on this video, the noun phrase. The noun phrase is the noun, the substantive, and the things that usually orbit around it. The articles, the determinants, the demonstratives like this and that, the adjectives and numerals and other words that count, quantitative words, and what order, how to arrange that thing, that complex that goes around the noun in a proper way. This video is a part of my mentoring system, my online mentoring system. You can contact me through the email that'll be here on this video, and below the video, the description contains further information under the video. And you can contact me and you're going to learn Brazilian Portuguese and other languages as well. I can teach English, I can teach German, Russian, and a few other languages. And you can access my online dictionary as well, my multilingual dictionary, which is a thematic, intuitive dictionary, using the information in the description of the video. And in my mentoring system, I'll teach you languages online through video calls. Typically one-on-one, no classes, individual teaching. We can arrange as many calls as you need a week. And you're going to have an online page where I'm going to post content, written content for you to work on between calls. So you have some kind of a homework, so to speak, a material to deal with, to handle, to work with during your everyday. And of course, my approach is very different from most approaches. Most modern approaches are about there is no grammar, everything is just intuitive and like immersion and like intelligible input only. Just listen to it, don't think about it. No, that's not the way I teach. I teach with grammar, and vocabulary, organized vocabulary. Most teaching methods have no organization, no approach, no rational approach to the issue of vocabulary. I have my exclusive, thematic, intuitive, multilingual dictionary. You can have words arranged by meaning. So you have the parts of the body, you have the professions, jobs, you have the fruits and animals, you have abstract concepts, shapes, parts, government, city, nature, everything organized by theme with many sentences giving you an example of how things operate, how to use a word inside, what preposition goes there, how to properly arrange a sentence around that word. So my online dictionary itself can be actually purchased separately from my mentoring system. You can contact me and learn everything about it in the links below. Let's go to the Portuguese noun phrase. So here we have a basic arrangement of the main noun phrase components. The first square on the left is the determiners, which are the articles and demonstratives and words like some, a few, those, which typically come first in the noun phrase. And then there are the adjectives that tend to be either more grammatically functional, like functional words such as other, same, words like first, last, certain, like those, and the numbers and quantity words like muitos, which is many, vários, which is various, poucos, which is few, and also subjective adjectives. We're going to see that later. If an adjective, a descriptive adjective like beautiful or new, is perceived to be used in a more subjective manner, it tends to be put before the noun. But we'll see that carefully later. Then comes the noun itself. The noun itself is the center of the noun phrase, at least in theory. It's going to be a noun in the singular and the plural. A noun is singular or plural and masculine or feminine. And the adjectives have to agree with the gender and with the number, which is plural or singular of the noun. And after the noun comes the regular descriptive adjectives. That's one of the main differences relative to English, is that the regular descriptive adjectives used in the language come after the noun. You don't say a big house, you say a house big. Okay, only special adjectives come before the noun. You can say many Houses will be muitas casas. But beautiful house is casa bonita. A house beautiful. Let's take a look at the details here. Take a look at these very long noun phrase, which is these 4 first excellent new books. Okay, you have esses 4 primeiros excelentes livros novos. So technically what we have here is these 4 first excellent books new. And you can also notice that except for 4, which is a number, all the other elements in the noun phrase, not only the noun itself, livros, but also the adjectives and quantifiers and articles and determinants there also are in the plural. They receive an S to mark the plural. So we have esses, meaning these. 4 doesn't have an S. Sometimes Brazilians accidentally put an S in the numbers when speaking, but that's very accidental. Primeiros means first, excellent in the plural, excelentes. Livros novos. Livros novos means new books. So in English, the adjectives typically do not have a plural form. In Portuguese, they do. They receive a final S to mark plurality. The formation of the plural in the noun is no big mystery. You typically add S to the noun and S to the everything else, all the articles and everything gets an S. O livro, the book, os livros, the books. A casa, the house, as casas, the houses. O corpo, os corpos. Okay, there's a few words that are typically masculine, whose main vowel, stress vowel, is O, and they change the openness of the O from closed to open in the singular when they go to the plural. So corpo, corpo, becomes corpus, corpus, okay? So that's one of the few irregularities we have when it comes to building the plural. And the writing system typically does not show that. That's why it's a little bit difficult for foreigners, because you can only hear that difference. Typically no accent marks are used to change, to indicate the change in openness of the vowel O. Corpo, corpus. Words that do not end in a vowel sometimes present a few irregularities, such as words ending in L. We have the L replaced by an I. So typically we have canal. The L itself is pronounced more like a W. Canal, o canal, the channel, the canal. Os canais, the canals. Word like ending in E, like ponte, is the feminine word, but doesn't matter. Feminine or masculine words ending in E, just add an S. A ponte, as pontes. Word ending in R, typically add an ES. There's got to be a buffer vowel between the R and the S. You cannot make o mar, os mars. You can say os mares, the seas. The sea, the seas. The same for words ending in Z, like luz, which is light. A luz, as luzes, okay? The indefinite article is for masculine and uma for feminine, and they can be used in the plural as well in the meaning of some, a few. So you can say livro, a book. Uns livros, a few books, some books. O canal, canal, a canal. Uns canais, a few canals, etc. The adjectives are placed in the plural just like a noun. They have the same behavior as the noun. So preto means black. Pretos is the masculine plural. Preta is the feminine of black. Pretas is the feminine plural. Some words do not change gender. They only have a plural form versus masculine. There's no plural form versus singular. They do not have a masculine versus feminine forms. That's usually the words that do not end in an O, even though sometimes words ending in a consonant may change gender, but these words here are by gender. For example, normal, normais, normal. Azul means blue, plural, azuis. Gentil means gentle or kind. Gentis, pobre, poor, pobres. Fácil, easy, fáceis. Maior, bigger, maiores. So in this case, maior, maiores, we have an ES in the end, and see the fácil is a word that ends in an L, but the stressed syllable is not the last one. It's not fácil, it's fácil. So in this case, the plural is made replacing the IL in the end with EIS. That's one of the most irregular forms, but relatively few words behave like this. Notice that gentil is accented. The stressed syllable is the last one. The stress, it is stressed in the end. So gentil, gentis. In this case, you only replace the L with the S. In the case of fácil, we replace the IL with EIS. Fácil, fáceis. A few slightly irregular noun. Bom means good. Feminine, boa. And the plural, bons and boas. Ruim is a bigender word. No feminine form, no specific difference to feminine. Ruim means bad. Ruins is its plural. Cru means raw, something that's uncooked, raw. So crua is the feminine, and the plural crus and cruas. Nu means naked. Nua, feminine of naked. Nus and nuas are their plural. One adjective that ends in is by gender and only has a plural form as opposed to a singular form, not a feminine, no separate feminine or masculine. Cortês means courteous, polite. The plural is corteses, but most words ending in es, the accented es, have a feminine form. Português means Portuguese, portuguesa is the feminine. In the plural, portugueses, portuguesas. The same goes for inglês, chinês, francês, finlandês, polonês, norueguês, dinamarquês, albanês, libanês, which are other nationalities. English, Chinese, French, Finnish, Polish, Norwegian, Danish, Albanian, and Lebanese. Freguês, which is one of the words for customer, does have a feminine also, which is freguesa, a female customer, and burguês, which means a bourgeois person, a wealthy person. It's not very widely used outside leftist circles, but burguesa. That's another word that has a feminine form. The exception here is cortês in the top. Cortês is the only word of that type that does not have a feminine version. The demonstratives are esse for masculine and essa for feminine. Notice the difference in openness of the e. Esse is a masculine. Esse. The feminine is essa. Esse, essa. Esse livro, essa casa. Esses livros, essas casas. So in the plural, the distinction remains. You still have closed e for masculine and open e for feminine. Esse livro is the near demonstrative, things that are near the speaker. Something that is far from you is with that, aquele livro, that book, aquela casa. So here there's also a difference in vowel openness. Aquele, aquela, aquele livro, that book, aquela casa, that house. Aqueles livros, those books. Aquelas casas, those houses. Let's take a look at plural marking with a normal, simple noun phrase, which is empty street. The empty street, a rua vazia. A rua vazia. Rua means street, and vazia is the feminine of vazio, empty. So we have a rua vazia, the empty street. As ruas vazias, the empty streets. Also, in colloquial Portuguese, you can also say as rua vazia, which is colloquial form when in colloquial Brazilian Portuguese, a very common feature of the informal language in Brazil is that only the articles, only the first element in the noun phrase, which is typically the article or the demonstrative, goes to the plural. So you say, instead of say as ruas, the streets, many people just say in informal speech as rua, as rua. Aquelas rua vazia, or aquelas ruas vazias, okay? Formal language, aquelas ruas vazias. Informal, aquelas rua vazia. Yeah. The singular form is used as a generic reference. Unlike English, when you say, for example, that you like empty streets, you have to use the plural, right? You cannot say I like empty street. Okay, you like empty streets in general, like any kind of empty street, typically. In Portuguese, that form that's going to be used in this case is a singular. Só tinha rua vazia. There were only empty streets. So in this case, you say there is only empty street. It's very funny that we use a singular there. Eu gosto de rua vazia. I like empty streets. But once again, eu gosto de is I like, but rua vazia in the singular. Ele gosta de maçã. In Portuguese, you'd say he likes, in English, you'd say he likes apples, but in Portuguese, he say he likes apple. The word for all, whole, entire, meaning 100% of an object. Okay, todo livro, the whole book. Okay, that can be the whole book, and that can also mean every book. That's confusing. Todo livro and toda casa. Okay, most of the times the usage there will indicate that this is about every book and every house. Okay? Optionally, you can use the article after todos. Todos os livros. Every book. Todas as casas. All the houses. Just like in English, the article comes after the all. Todas as casas. All the houses. But if you want to say the entire book, distinguished from the whole book, you can put the todo after the noun. O livro todo. Or o livro inteiro. The entire book. A casa toda. A casa inteira. The entire house. The whole house. So when you put the todo before, it may be ambiguous. Exactly what do you mean, the whole book or every book. But when you put the todo or inteiro after, inteiro is always after. But when you put the todo after, or toda after the noun, they are very clearly talking about 100%, the entire house. And notice that todo does not change vowel openness. Todo and toda, it's always closed o. Todo, toda. The negative determiner, nenhum, means no or none, zero. Nenhum livro, no book. Nenhuma casa, no house. Eu não chamei menina nenhuma. Okay, sometimes the nenhuma can come after the noun. Okay, it's not impossible. It can come before or after. Eu não chamei menina nenhuma. I didn't call any girl. You can also say eu não chamei nenhuma menina. I didn't call any girl. The same thing. The indefinite determiner, which is a small amount, whenever, a small, like some, is algum. Some book, algum livro. Some house, alguma casa. Ok? Alguns livros, a few books. Algumas casas, a few houses. Some houses, some books. Eles leram alguns livros novos. Eles leram alguns livros novos. They read some new books, a few new books. Algumas pessoas não têm casa. Some people don't have a house. Or some people have no house. Algumas pessoas, it means a few people. Some people. Algumas pessoas, it's a plural. Okay, pessoa is person. Não tem, doesn't have. Don't have. And casa, as we know, is house. The word for same in Portuguese, the same, is mesmo. O mesmo livro, the same book, a mesma casa. The same house, os mesmos livros, as mesmas casas. The same books, the same houses. You can also use it with a determiner, like esse mesmo livro, this very book. Aquela mesma casa, that very house, that same house. When you're talking about another or other, you can say outro livro, another book, or the other book, o outro livro. You typically don't use the indefinite article there. You just say outro. In English, you say an other. In Portuguese, you just say other book, means another book. Outro livro, another book. Os outros livros, the other books. Esse outro livro, this other book. Outra casa, another house. A outra casa, the other house. As outras casas, the other houses. Essa outra casa, this other house. When talking about large quantities, you say muito, whose feminine is muita. Muito dinheiro, a lot of money. Muita gente, a lot of people. Okay, dinheiro and gente are uncountable nouns. So you typically only use them in the singular in Portuguese. Uncountable nouns typically only occur in the singular. But countable nouns like books and houses, you can put the muitos in the plural. Muitos livros caros. Many expensive books. Caro is expensive. Muitos livros caros. Many expensive books. Muitas casas verdes. Many green houses. Muitas casas verdes. Many green houses. And small amount, you can say pouco. Pouco is a little money. Okay? Poucas casas amarelas. Few yellow houses. A small amount, a minute amount of yellow houses. Poucas casas amarelas. When I talk about more and less, just use mais and menos. Noticing that mais and menos do not change gender. No gender and no singular either. Okay, no singular or plural. Those are unchanging words. Mais and menos. Mais dinheiro. Mais gente. More money, more people. Mais livros, more books. Mais casas, more houses. Mais ruas, more streets. Menos dinheiro, less money. Menos casas, fewer houses. Menos ruas estreitas, fewer narrow streets. Estreita means narrow. Fewer narrow streets. Menos ruas estreitas. In colloquial Portuguese, some people will use the feminine for menos, which is menas. Okay, but that's considered very, very informal. You can say here, menos ruas estreitas, fewer narrow streets. Mais casas velhas, more old houses. But you can say, if you use the menos and the mais with the adjective before the adjective, you change the meaning. Ruas menos estreitas, that's less narrow streets. That is streets that are not so narrow. You're talking about being less narrow, not fewer streets. Casas mais velhas, that mean older houses. And we're talking about the comparative of the adjective. The adjective can be compared in Portuguese just by placing mais and menos before the adjective. In English, sometimes you put the ER in the end, so big, bigger. Okay, in Portuguese, most adjectives have no special form, no suffix to make the comparative form, so you just use mais, which means more, and menos, which means less. Mais velho, casas mais velhas, older houses. There's also such. Okay, such, more like tal. It's a little formal, typically a little bit more formal than in English. You don't use tal all that much. You can say tal rua, such a street, tal casa, such a house, tal carro, such a car, tais coisas, such things. But in most cases, Brazilians prefer to use dessas, which means of those. Uma rua dessas, one street of those, like those. Carro desses, a car like those, a car like these, instead of such cars. Eu nunca vi carro desses. I've never seen such a car. Okay, in formal Portuguese you can say eu nunca vi tal carro. But in colloquial speech, tal is replaced by desses and dessas. Eu nunca tive livro assim. You can also say assim. I never had a book like this, which is I never had such a book.